person, certainly not me, who could do any of this without there being a huge and growing team. That's what does it. From the newest person who comes along and he decides they'll put out some leaflets because they think perhaps they should and it might be fun, they've never done it before, right the way through the local officials, through the regional officials, through the national officials, right the way up to the top. We've got where we are so far because we're a team and we're working in the same direction and we believe passionately in the same things. And it's our achievement. It's not Nick Griffin's achievement like they'll say in the newspapers. It's not anyone's achievement. It's all of us collectively. Together we've done something astounding. Together we're going to do even more astounding things in the future. Yes, you know that and I know that. And we've come through, and here I think particularly of some of the old hands, and I know there's some very old hands. Lance Stewart yesterday, he was doing this when even I wasn't born. So there's some old hands here, and the older the hand is, the more they will be aware that as a set of ideas, as a group of people, even though the people come and the people go, there is this continuity. And together, this movement, whether it was this party or the one before it, or people have been in other parties or no party, this movement that's now coalescing, this party of ours, has come through very hard times. And we come through hard times because for the public, for the people on who we rely for support and for votes and to turn to us, these have been very soft times. There's been no time like the last 30 or 40 years for material comfort and ease and the potential for sloth and idleness and putting your head in the sand. There's been no time in human history like our people have wallowed in for the last 40 or 50 years. And easy times for them makes hard times for any radical alternative, which is saying, look, it's great here in this lovely, lovely big limousine, but don't you realise the limousine is rolling towards the edge of a precipice and we've got to get out or turn it round? And when the limousine is full of champagne and it's lovely and comfortable and the driver appears to know what he's doing with his peak cap and all the rest of it, they want to stay in the limousine. And when things are going well, then it's a hard time for a party such as ours. And during those soft times, as you know, there has been a deliberate campaign by certain interest groups of various kinds, as well as just the innate logic of a capitalist system which needs cheap labour at any cost, which is only interested in the biggest, shortest term profit at any long-term price. The combination of that system and the evil people working to do these things, there has been a campaign and a trend to murder this nation and every other nation like it in terms of its freedom and its traditions, in terms of its very existence, and a coordinated, connected campaign, particularly to commit ethnocide against us and our kind. That's what has gone on in the good times. And the ease and the sloth and the comfort which our people have enjoyed over the last generation, that comfort has acted as chloroform on our people to stop them waking up, seeing what's going on and turning to us and also getting involved with us to do something about it. Comfort has equalled chloroform. And I tell you this is what I'm going to talk about mainly this afternoon. They are running out of chloroform. I'll give you a few concrete examples. I'll have to just read these briefly because they're economic figures which are difficult to remember and they're fundamentally boring, but don't worry, I won't go on too long. First of all, there's the debt crisis, and it is now a crisis, starting in America but filtering out all over the world. This is the unravelling of globalist capitalism. They might be able to buy off a very rapid downward spiral into collapse by hyperinflation, by putting so much money into the economy that they can keep things going for a bit longer. If they do that, as well as recession shading into depression, they'll also get hyperinflation. But it won't happen quite so quickly. So they can either bite one bullet now, or they can choke on two bullets a little bit later. But one way or another, the whole lot is unravelling before our very eyes. The United States, for instance, has an $800 billion current account deficit alone. The national debt of the United States has risen 3 trillion, not million, not billion, $3 trillion in the last 6 years alone. And their war costs them £9 billion a year. Just that one little war, let alone the wars they're going to get into shortly. It's an unbelievable shambles, this thing. The subprime market for these mortgages to people who could never possibly afford to repay them. Poor, innocent, simple, hard-working souls who've been sucked into an unrepayable mountain of debt. It's been described over there recently as a $1.5 trillion doomsday machine. And that's just the subprime market. The collateralised debt packages have been described by Warren Buffett, who's probably the greatest investor and risk taker of the latter part of the last century. He described the CDOs as weapons of financial mass destruction about 18 months ago, and now we're seeing it come home to roost. In the last few months in the United States, 151 mortgage lenders have gone to the wall. It's 151 building societies, banks, giant companies, 151 of them have gone down the tubes. You can't be a mortgage lender if you've got a few thousand quid spare. To be a mortgage lender is to be a giant player in the whole financial system, and 151 of them have already gone down. The Los Angeles Business Journal, just yesterday, reported that house sales in the whole of the Los Angeles area have gone down 50% in 1 month. Now, I was caught, like many were, at the end of the Thatcher-Lawson boom when interest rates went mad in a housing crisis, and I'll tell you that was damn painful. But nothing happened in that, like a 50% fall in sales in 4 weeks. This really is big. What happens in a place like Los Angeles when someone's house gets repossessed? Well, I'll tell you briefly what happens, because in a way it's rather funny. It certainly brings it home. Los Angeles is a desert. Right? Most of Western America is a desert, till you get near the top bit. So all these lovely multi-million-pound homes with these green lawns in front of them and shrubs and bushes and swimming pools out the back, an absolute paradise of consumerism. But the moment someone is thrown out of their home, and they've all taken on massive fraudulent loans to buy these homes recently, thinking the price could only ever go upwards, so they couldn't lose. Sooner or later, when they couldn't pay any more, they'd sell up, take the profit and run. So that's what they've been doing. So in these lovely houses, they can't afford them. One after another, foreclosure. They get out and move to some little apartment downtown. The marriage is wrecked through the strain on it, and so on. Now, if that happens in Britain, as it's already happening, as it's going to more and more, the only problem is that the grass grows a bit, and the place looks a bit seedy, but that's all really. Someone can come along and think, oh, I've only got to cut the grass, and it's back to looking a lovely house again. Not when you're in a desert, because 4 or 5 days after the foreclosure, there's not grass out the front, there's just a mass of dead brown bits. And then a few weeks after that, the lovely green shrubs have died as well. And you've actually got a beautiful looking house with a piece of desert in front of it. But that's nothing compared with what's around the back, because what's around the back is a mosquito infested swamp. Because the chlorine in the swimming pools evaporates after about 5 or 6 days, and mosquitoes start breeding in them. And it's not anyone's job to empty them, so more and more and more you get pools full, not of happy yuppie swimmers and their brats, oh no, just mosquitoes, which in Los Angeles now carry Nile fever, which has killed 6 people this summer in Los Angeles from mosquito bites from infested swimming pools. So society and the civilization suddenly starts to go down the plug hole. For all sorts of... Who on earth would have thought that one of the side effects of the subprime mortgage disaster would be people dying of Nile fever in Los Angeles, in multi-million-dollar homes, because they're next door to a swamp? quite astounding stuff. That's what's happening. The other end of North America, I was in Michigan. That was the particularly rowdy argument with all those lefties in that big lecture